Good evening and Ramadan Kareem to you all. I'm your host, Bara Abdallah, here to bring you a great line of segments featuring local talents, initiatives, and events from around the kingdom as we celebrate the holy month of Ramadan. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. And now, as we emphasize the importance of keeping fit during the month of Ramadan with personal trainer Shaun Gillespie. Well, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to come back. Thanks for inviting me again.
Most definitely. So, Ramadan, fitness, nutrition, is it different than normal days? How do you deal with that?
It certainly is different. The main emphasis is going to be not eating or drinking anything for up to 12 hours. Yes, we certainly do deal with it differently. There's a lot of mental strength that takes place, I can imagine. Naturally, a lot of my clients will be doing fasting, and so we have to change training up a little bit to emphasize that.
Amazing. Well, I can imagine like different energy levels, nutrition, when to pretty much work out and all of that, and timings are different right now. So let's start with timings right now. So most people, when do they work out now in Ramadan with your clients?
So we do actually have people that can and do request early mornings.
Early mornings?
Huh? Early mornings, it's insane. It's like the mental strength is just phenomenal. It's out there.
Amazing.
It's out there. But most of my Muslim clients, they will ask to do pre-iftar workouts.
Okay.
So that does influence things. You know, if you work out, you're still on the right track, no matter when you work out. So it's not really that big of a deal.
So when you say pre-iftar, we're talking about 1, 2 hours, 3 hours? What's like pretty much the average timing, like before iftar?
So roughly speaking, iftar is anywhere from 5 to 6 p.m., depending on things, right?
Okay.
So people generally want to work out pretty much an hour or so before iftar begins. They want to work out, get home, maybe shower if they need to, or change most likely, and then they want to get ready for that. So, and you know that's pretty much what people are aiming for when they ask me to reschedule for Ramadan.
Okay, why do you think that it has to be as close as possible to iftar for the workouts? Is there like a thing? There's science behind it? Is it a habit? What's the deal?
So, if you're going to really push it to the end of the spectrum right before iftar, you haven't eaten for the whole day, right?
Yeah.
So your body is pretty much in fat burning mode. Your body it's running on nothing. And it's just going to say, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of fat here and there. and then you will break your fast. A lot of people do it very gently with some dates and then some soup and stuff. But you're in fat burning mode, and then adding another resistance workout, which will help keep muscle, or adding cardio, so anything as light as walking, can really emphasize fat loss if that's what the goal is. And if you're not emphasizing fat loss, generally speaking, you're going to maintain a level of fitness. I was actually talking to someone just yesterday who actually does do 5-kilometer runs fasted.
It's amazing.
5-kilometer runs, and I was very impressed. And this does depend completely on the individual. If someone that's never worked out before during Ramadan starts walking 100 meters a day, that's 100 meters more than they did before Ramadan started. That is a step in the right direction. Just like I said last time, it begins with the first step.
Amazing.
And don't compare yourself to someone who runs 5 kilometers fasted. The battle is between the person and the mirror.
Wow, wow. Now, timing, right? But then energy. So a lot of people will think, hey, I'm fasting. I'm sure I don't have enough energy to go with it. I mean, I'm going to be sleepy in the first, I would say 7 or 4 or 5 days in Ramadan, but apparently not. So in your experience right now, you've been here in Bahrain for how long?
I've been here for almost 6 years. It's a long time.
Yes, so you've seen your fair share of Ramadan.
I certainly have.
So now tell us about the energy levels that people would actually go with when they're doing Ramadan.
Okay, so this again really depends on individuals. I have come across incredible people that will fast all day and then come to a circuit training class that I've held, and they will absolutely blow my mind away with the energy levels that they have. And some people who are adjusting to getting into working out will take it a little bit slower. But generally speaking, you've gone into fat burning mode, and that can take a bit of time. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
And during that time, you can expect a little slump in energy. You can expect rings around the eyes. You can expect like a very sluggish sort of bodily movement.
Right.
And after that, your body will switch into a new energy system where it will start burning fat as energy source because it has no choice. And this is why Ramadan is, generally speaking, very, very good for fat loss. And that's the reason.
Okay, so now there is like, when it comes to energy and getting, burning the fat, there's a name for that process.
You go into what's called ketosis.
Ketosis.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about that if you don't mind.
So we are using ketones as an energy source.
Okay.
Your brain uses ketones. A lot of bodily systems actually do use ketones. And people have heard of diets like the ketogenic diet and things like that. And that's pretty much what it is. But for me, I think Ramadan is like a super ketogenic diet.
Okay.
It really pushes the emphasis on it. And it's kind of like where people are like, oh, I think I'm going to go into, the ketogenic diet today. Ramadan's like, you're in.
That's it. Like, hey, you don't have to think. You're in it. That's it.
And that's kind of that's a good thing for people kind of on the edge of thinking whether they should do it or not.
Right.
And I know that in the Muslim religion, Ramadan is one of those times where people just automatically lose a couple of pounds. They come out the other end and they're like, wow, I feel really great. And that's when they either have joined a gym or they then join a gym.
Right.
And they kind of think, you know what, this I'm feeling really healthy. But it's down to motivation. And I think just the process of Ramadan, the whole ethos behind it, is really helpful in getting people onto that initial path,
Okay. So now, energy, timing, and now, is there like a certain package, like a certain workout that you would focus on when it comes to Ramadan? Like, would you focus more into cardio or resistance or a bit of both? And what would you focus on mostly when it comes to workout during the month of Ramadan?
So if I was holding a class, the class would be designed for a very wide variety of people for all levels.
Okay.
If I'm doing one-on-one, it's specific for that person, their capabilities and energy levels. So an example.
Yeah.
An example of a class would be timed intensity and rest.
Okay.
So I could do 30 seconds of work and then 30 seconds of rest. And in that time, this is why circuit training is really good for groups. In that time, the person, the individual, will push themselves to a comfortable limit. And that's going to be different for every single person.
Okay.
And so the person who's come in, who's not quite ready with the energy adaptation, will come in and kind of like coast along, and they'll get used to it. And then the people who have adapted come in, kill it.
Yeah.
And normally they actually inspire everybody else. And there are those people in the set groups. And then with one-on-one clients, I do a check-in. How are you today? How are you feeling? How's Ramadan going? How are the energy levels today? And based on that, we will basically do a workout. Now, if you do weights workouts, so strength training, a resistance training, that is a really good, it's a good emphasis on maintaining muscle mass. Cardio is exactly what it says it is. Cardio kind of maintains your cardiovascular system, and this leads to many, many, many benefits. So if we're doing weighted training, don't expect gains in Ramadan. So that's the biggest thing that you need to get into your psyche is you're not going to go into the gym and at very least you're going to maintain strength. You might lose a little strength due to dehydration and things like that, but your goal for the month of Ramadan is maintenance. I'll say it again, it's key, it's maintenance.
Okay.
You're not going in to break any personal bests, no 1 rep maxes, none of that. And that is something that I've done recently as well. And for athletes, that's very difficult to do.
Okay, why is that?
As an athlete, you want to go into your training every single session and you want to push it. You want to
Just
figure it out.
smash
Yeah,
it,
you
right.
want to go in, and you want to see if you can improve on last week or last month, and that basically leads you into a periodization program. So periodization is effectively building up the steps to a peak, and then we deload, we bring it back down to allow the body to recover. And if you have a fantastic trainer, then they would actually program in your periodization to include Ramadan, which is what I've done with one of my recent clients. And it's working out really, really well.
Amazing, amazing. So now, like, did it take you like a certain amount of time just to figure out what works and what doesn't in the last few years of Ramadans? Now reaching out to this, like I would say now, a better understanding of how to utilize this month better?
Absolutely. That is such a good question. It all comes down to the science of fat loss, the decade of training experience I have, and mostly just talking to people and seeing what they're capable of and having a backup plan or an answer for everything that could possibly be, getting in the way. So some people do need to adapt to having not eaten for a while, more than others. Like I said earlier, some people, they blow me away. They're just like, they work out like nothing's happened. And you're like, this is incredible.
I need to meet them.
They're an inspiration. I'll give you some names, but they're so inspirational when they teach, but that's also a very individual thing. So some people learn to do that. Some people can just do that. And other people take a little bit longer to adapt to it. I mean, you yourself, I'm sure you've come across friends or people who struggle really the first 2 or 3 weeks of Ramadan, and maybe the end of Ramadan, they kind of get it. But there are other people who are just like, oh, Ramadan? Sure, no problem. I can, anytime.
Man, like I would say, speaking for myself, right? In the first week of Ramadan, it's just me trying to figure out the energy level and what time to sleep and all that kind of stuff. But it seems it kicks in beautifully after the second half of Ramadan.
Yes.
Is that an average thing? Like people pretty much, like the first week is going to be the most difficult, and then they're going to figure it out maybe, towards the mid or after the mid of Ramadan.
Actually, that seems to be a very, very common denominator in Ramadan, the month of fasting. So it does take your body anywhere between 5 and 7 days to adapt. Once you've adapted, which is generally the second week of Ramadan, people actually do say, hey, how'd you sleep? Really well.
Love that.
How are your energy levels? Yeah, they're peaking up. I'm good.
Peaking up.
And and then you're like, wow. So what did you break your fast with? How's that going? And they're like, yeah, I'm just being modest. I'm still watching my calorie intake, even though it's Ramadan. I'm not necessarily doing an all-you-can-eat buffet at the end. I'm still watching what I eat, how I eat it, and there are actually some really good tips on what to break a fast with and how that works.
Would love that. So yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, nutrition, right? I mean, now workout, timing, energy, and all of that. But what about what to eat? What's the best thing to eat?
So there are a lot of different variations and answers to this question.
Okay.
I would say this depends on who you are, what you're trying to achieve, even as tiny a detail as the bacteria in your intestines.
Interesting.
Will actually influence that answer.
Okay, okay.
And of course, things like being vegan or vegetarian or being carnivore. That all influences that particular answer. So we could talk for days on the subject. But generally speaking, if I'm assuming that everyone's eating meat,
Yes.
you would actually, ironically, you would break your fast with a lean source of protein.
Okay.
Let me explain this.
Please do.
So there is a very, very, very popular international coach. He's a celebrity coach, and I've been following him for quite some time.
Shaun, by any chance?
How'd you know? And the idea behind breaking a fast with lean protein, and in this case, you can't do fish, you can't do seafood. It has to be chicken or steak.
Okay.
All lean sources. Now, a lean source of protein won't necessarily spike your insulin too much. Fats don't spike your insulin at all, but if you introduce the first thing into your body after not eating for 8 to 12 hours, it quite literally, your body it sounds really strange, but your body just absorbs it.
Like completely, just like that.
It just sucks it in. Like the cells cry for something. And if you're going to give your cells anything, a lean source of protein is probably one of the better things. So you could actually give them fats as well, but break your fast with protein, then 20, 30 minutes afterwards, go into a regular meal. So a little bit of fats, a little bit of carbs, another source of lean protein if you have it, fiber, green vegetables, that type of thing is probably really good. So a lot of people break their fast out here with dates and soup.
Yes.
Okay, that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. The sugar in the dates and the fiber is like a slow release little time capsule of energy. It's also a traditional thing, which I love.
It's pretty much part of the teaching, yeah.
It is, and I've been going through my box of dates that I bought at the farmer's market quite frivolously.
All right.
I love those dates so much, and I can understand why people break their fast with date. It is just so good. And followed up by like a broth of some kind would be fantastic. But if people want to try and break a fast with, a piece of steak, even lamb.
Okay.
Lamb would be good. Try it, see how you feel. And it's not that it's going to change you, like you're not going to like lose fat or anything, but you're going to be driving that protein into the body, and you're basically going to help your body maintain. In this case, you're going to maintain muscle mass if that's something you want to do. So for athletes, I would definitely say, hey, here's the intermittent fasting protocol.
Right. Starting
out with lean protein.
It's very interesting. Like going back to the whole thing with dates and protein, where there was a talk about the whole fact of why in Islamic teachings they will go with the odd numbers, either 1, 3, or 5. So when you go with number 1 or 3, what happens here? It gives you the jump start your body needs for all the sugar that needs to go back, and then with the soup, complementing that with the lean protein, and that's it. I guess we have a great thing going on for Ramadan.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I would even push that one step further, and I would say, if you really think about it, so when you have anything sugary, your insulin spikes, right?
Right.
And so, on one hand, we're trying to avoid insulin spikes because that encourages fat storage. But if you've been fasting all day, and let's say, for example, you came to one of the classes, or I just did personal training with you, your body could definitely use an insulin spike to drive whatever it is that you've eaten into the muscles.
Wow.
So, as an example, you've just done a 20, 30-minute circuit class.
Yes.
You have 3 dates and a lean source of protein. The sugar in the dates, slowed down a little bit by the fiber, but still the sugar in the dates encourages your arteries to vasodilate, so they expand.
Wow.
Driving the protein synthesis through and into the muscles.
Whoa.
So it's kind of like eating a super steak.
Yes.
And I've actually done that, and it's so good.
I need to try that.
You really should.
I need to try that. Pretty much, you may have your own Ramadan, diet special packages.
Yeah, that could actually
go with
work.
that.
Absolutely. And then afterwards, you could have a little bowl of soup broth as well, which is, the fats would then come in, and once your stomach is settled, it's just amazing.
Now, let's say, and it will be great to do, we follow the program for 30 days of the holy month of Ramadan, and we're done, whether you want to maintain or you want to lose your weight. Now, when we go back to, to normal days, post Ramadan, would some of your clients, do you notice them that they're gonna follow the same program, or then they want to change it back again to normality?
So then clients generally would tend to go back to whatever it is that they did do.
Right.
Eating 3, 4, 5 times a day, snacks, whatever it is that they used to do, they generally go back to it.
Right.
But having lost so much weight and putting them on the emphasis of being mindful, really sets people up, because then they're like, oh, well, okay, so I'm a little bit more conscious of what I'm eating now. And you tend to find clients who develop a natural, intuitive method of eating. So you don't eat until you're absolutely stuffed.
Yeah.
You eat just enough to feel a little bit hungry at the end, but that's not hunger. That's just the impression of hunger. So there's actually a really interesting hormone called ghrelin. Now, ghrelin actually releases, it's like a little time release capsule.
Okay.
And ghrelin is something that you release at certain times of the day,
Right.
whether you're hungry or not.
Okay.
And so this hormone is gonna be the one that makes your tummy rumble. So this is the hormone
For
that
the beats, Ramadan beats right,
right?
there.
Yeah, so you're gonna wake up first day of Ramadan and Ghrellin's gonna be knocking on that door saying, hey, you know, it's 9 a.m. Where's that coffee? Where's that sandwich you normally pick up on the way to work? And all you have to do is just ignore.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna talk to you.
Not
Yeah.
today.
20 minutes later, Ghrelin normally goes, oh, I'll try later, you know? And that's generally what happens. I mean, we've all done this. We've all had really busy work days or really busy family days
Yeah.
where you've sat down, turned on the TV, or sat down and had a conversation with your husband or wife or kids, or taken your dog for a walk, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
And you can't remember eating anything since breakfast, if not at all.
Okay.
We all fast. We've all been
Yes.
doing it for generations. And the crazy thing is, everybody fasts every single night. What do you think you do when you sleep?
Right.
So fasting, I think it's a lot of media have put a somewhat of a not positive spin on fasting.
Right.
And for me being
Mostly in the Western
this,
area, I would say?
Absolutely. For me
Okay.
being in this part of the world, that's what I was getting to. That's exactly right. Me being in the Middle East has just opened up my mind to fasting, and it's incredible. And I think it's fantastic. I
And
really
you tried
do.
it yourself, right?
I have absolutely tried it myself. I've been trying it for quite a number of years now.
Yeah.
I don't do the full water fast because I have to do hours of workouts every
Yes.
single day. So unfortunately, that's not an option for me.
Okay.
My work times don't change either, so I don't get breaks in the day or in the evening. And yeah, I still have to sleep at night.
Wow. Wow. Okay, well, Shaun, this has been a very, very informative talk. Thank you so much. If you gotta leave us with one thing, like one advice right now, the simplest thing, what would that be?
For Ramadan,
For Ramadan.
the best thing I can say is ignore ghrelin.
Okay, yes, yes, sir.
Ignore the tummy rumbling hormone.
Yes.
It will go away. It will subside. And one of the biggest myths that's out there is when you fast, you lose muscle mass. That is simply not true.
Not true.
If you're fasting for anything from 36 to 48 hours,
Yes.
your human growth hormone actually increases, and that maintains muscle mass. That is one of
Okay.
the things that says, hey, I'm gonna hang on to this, because your body
Okay.
thinks, oh no, what's happening? And so you actually burn fat before muscle.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
just remember
Shaun,
that.
thank you so much for being with us right here again on Bahrain Now.
Thanks for coming.
For a very informative talk, and pretty much we're gonna have more follow-ups. After Ramadan, let's see what's gonna happen to us. Right? May lose, gain weight, we'll see about that, right? 30 days, let's make it happen.
Deal, done.
All right, sir. It's been definitely a pleasure having you with us right now and again on Bahrain Now.
Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it yourself with Shaun right here in this interview. A lot of advices, a lot of talks, and hopefully it's going to be a beautiful Ramadan for all of us to lose weight and maintain health. All that took place in an interview right here on Bahrain Now. Well, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Don't forget to reach out to us on our social media accounts shown below. And stay tuned for more happenings right here on Bahrain Now. I'm Bara Abdallah. Till next time, Bahrain, good night and God bless.